Hello, my dear friend, and welcome to the Spiritually Engineered Podcast, where we take a deep dive into the human experience from a spiritual perspective. Come on in, and I invite you to stay. For today's episode, I wanted to talk about my experience with In-Service Day. It's something that me and my colleagues do once a month where it's all in spirit of either professional development or just pure fellowship, hanging out with each other, being in good company. And this time around, we had an In-Service Day to go kayaking on the Anacostia River. A couple days before, I remember I was talking to a couple of my colleagues, one of my managers, and there was a bit of reservation from him about going because he's very knowledgeable. He knows a lot of things, and especially like when it comes to like the water conditions on the river aren't really healthy because of a lot of factors, human factors, environmental factors, you name it, etc. A lot of like pollutions. So like there was some health concerns that really came up, and for me that also made me nervous about hearing that, because I've always known that as well too, although I don't know all the specific facts, but I just have my ideas. And I got to a point where I caught myself into this assumption. That's a very important key here. And because of that assumption, then that's when I started to put some pressure on myself. I started to experience, a couple of days before leading to the event, a feeling of dread. Because now, since I've had this thing I was worrying about, I was like projecting into the future. Oh, what if I go and I somehow get sick because of being exposed to the water? And my mind has this way of just taking it to the extreme. Can you relate? And it's always often the case where when I'm projecting about an incident and the thing happens, not all the time, but when it does, in my experience, it's never been as bad as it made it out to be. My mind, the human mind, can just go through leaps and bounds just to make some kind of drama based on a fear, a worry that started with an assumption. And so his concern, although I'm not saying this to invalidate my manager that was sharing his concerns about the trip, the In-Service Day, by no means, no. Like, everybody has a right to feel how they feel. This isn't trying to shame or anything. Like, everybody's feelings and their concerns is valid. What I'm trying to get at is that I was picking up his worries, his concerns, and I took that on 100%. And then I was, in that way, I was causing myself suffering. And mind you, this could be shortcutted. This doesn't have to happen, but this is like the reality. And when it comes to the experiences and with energy, people affecting one another directly, indirectly, aware, but oftentimes actually unconsciously rather than conscious. It's more of an unconscious thing that happens. Like, oh, I'm picking up this, I'm feeling this. What's this? I remember like even last night I went to a dance, and this one gal, she was awesome. We had like a cool dance in the space at Ecstatic Dance, and one of the commonalities that we share, she talks about for herself, she wrestles with nervousness. It really affects her a lot. And I remember sharing with her, and with the intention of planting a seed, because it's something that I've known in my experience. Is like, telling her, like, hey, the nervousness you're feeling, I'd wager that most of it, if not all, isn't yours. And she's someone that's very sensitive spiritually. People who experience a lot of things, people who deal with a lot of mental challenges, or when they say mental health, we're talking about people who are very spiritually sensitive. That's it. People who are dealing with these things, anxiety and all these things, there's those individuals, and I would include myself in the category, We're just spiritually sensitive. And I would say that even those people actually have a lot more power within them. It's just, I know for me, I just use it against myself, and that's where it can take a toll. My overall well being can take a toll. So it's very important that I practice discernment. Okay, what am I feeling? Okay, what is this I'm feeling? Okay, where am I getting this from? Okay, and then the important step that's still practice for me is like doing something about it, taking action with something simple. And this is where I work with my guidance on this and where I practice. Okay, what could I do here to help move this energy so that I come back to home, come back to my center, come back here? Because that's the natural state for every individual, to be in that calm center. But there's always something that came in, or usually something that started out as a pattern or a concept, things that was passed on to us, that hijacks, for me, being off my own center. And so I look at it as a practice day to day. It's like, okay, staying cleansed, or people say clearing their energy. You know, or when people use sage or whatever, at least people that some of my friends do in their own practices, we're all essentially talking about cleansing and just coming back home to self. And that is a need that many people recognize. And I'm just want to articulate it as simply as possible. What's the real deal here for spiritually sensitive people? So that being said, going back, so then fast forward, we made our bike ride to the spot where we were gonna like park our bikes and then connect with the people there to get the kayaks, and they were like tandem kayaks. Even though I thought it was gonna be, I had a different picture because again, my mind wanted to go someplace for the sense of safety, security, control. It wants to project all these things. That's part of like my version of why I make assumptions, because there's something about a security thing of why I do it. But it's a false sense of security. And there's a lot of value, in my opinion, in the quality of being comfortable and secure in the unknown. In the unknown. And that's something I wrestle with too. I mean, like I said, I'm not perfect in this, but it's something that I work on to relax with it, to trust myself, which was another thing that came up. So I was like deciding on like what to take with me. Like I had a couple of dry bags, and I was like, okay, should I take this? If I leave this, because we had our bikes stationed and parked, we had to leave some stuff behind. I had to leave some stuff on my cargo bike. And I was like thinking to myself, shoot, what if somebody comes by and steals it? And again, the mind, the chatter, these stories that can just move in so quickly. Moves in so quickly. This is why discernment is a necessary practice, because of the nature how dynamic and quick things happen. When energy moves in and out, or energy moves in and it stays there. In this case, so it's like, oh shoot, so I was like, oh, should I bring? But then I just, at some point, I was being reminded. Remember, I had a reading from one of my good friends and mentor back when I was in summer camp in Iowa. He was giving me a nice little, we had like a little psychic fair, which was pretty cool because we had people doing readings for each other. I even offered and gave some readings to several people. So it's a beautiful thing to be a part of and to witness. And it's like, just everybody tapped into their abilities that we all have, mind you. This isn't some exclusive select few like I always thought it was. We all have psychic abilities. And so going back, I remember I was reminded of one of the things that stood out when my friend Tiger gave me a reading. It was related to being able, like, it was what was it, the legionnaire with like this backpack, or like a soldier but carrying like a lot of stuff. And what I gathered from that was like trusting myself to go forth with the bare minimum. Because I have a tendency to want to like over prepare for a lot of things, especially when I'm going on my travels. If I'm going someplace where I'm going to take my bike, I tend to go over prepared because of a security thing. But in this case though, it was like, well, what if I didn't over prepare by bringing unnecessary stuff and just took just the bare minimum, or like the essentials? So for me, it was like I was able to just narrow it down to like, because I was going to take a medium size and then a small size dry bag. I let go of the medium size. I left that on my bike, and I said, you know what? This is here in case something comes up, like extra set of clothes and stuff like that, in case if I fell in the water and the worries. I'm like, let me leave it here, and at least I want to take the essentials, which in this case was like my phone, my wallet, all those important things, and I put it in a small dry bag. And because I was thinking about that reading that I got and what I was gathering so far, it's like, let me use this as an opportunity to trust myself, and just trust myself with very little material resources. And this is an essential thing because we're all one with all things. We're all tapped in, and we can tap into the wisdom of the universe at any time. We have souls with access to universal wisdom, the essence of spiritual truth. Like, we have that available right next to us and inside of us. And so for me, it was practicing to be resourceful and trusting of myself. Like, okay, I'm just going to take the bare minimum of the material stuff and trust in the limitless, the abundance, the resourcefulness, the resources I have spiritually within myself through my gifts, my knowing, the pictures, understanding, the feelings, like all those things that we all have, to just trust that it's going to be okay. So that was a significant thing, an action step that I took. And I'm like, and then I just went on, and then we proceeded to go as a group, and then we started to pair off, and I ultimately ended up choosing my manager, who was the one that was expressed concerns about the health concerns and like paddling on the river, and especially because it also had rained the day before, and at times my understanding is when it rains significantly, when there's been a storm, the water conditions can be really, at least the quality can be really unhealthy. You know, some events, especially like boat tourings and whatnot, they will on the side of caution and not take people out if the water conditions, because of that, if it gets to a level where it's not as safe, where it can be actually significant. But mind you, like I said, the water regardless is not healthy to even to be in the water for, it's not good for swimming, so there's, again, there's the knowledge, but then there's the fear and the projections of all that stuff. And yet this was another moment where I can practice trusting myself here. So I chose my manager, who was the one who had his reservations about the whole thing. Like, let's partner together, and he was excited about it. He's like, yeah, let's do it. And when everybody's taking their turns getting on their tandem canoes, a significant moment here that I wanted to share. I remember he told me, like, when we were just like getting ready, getting ourselves kind of psyched up, because again, it's like the reservations, the worries that were lingering and looming within. He said something to the effect of like, okay, we're gonna have a good time. And I was like, yeah, we are. We're all gonna have a good time. And why that moment, that little exchange we had there is significant, because here's the thing. Life is full of pleasant and unpleasant experiences. It's why it is described that we have like the life ebbs and flows, because of people experiencing, I know I have, of pleasant experiences, and then all of a sudden, oh, this isn't so pleasant. What's going on here? But speaking on the unpleasant experiences, there is a lot of power when, if I know whether I'm in it now or I know it's coming up ahead along the path of an unpleasant experience or something that I'm not looking forward to. Like, I can have a crappy day. I remember one of my good friends, Alma, from camp, she mentioned, like, I'm gonna have a crappy day, or if I'm having a crappy day, you know what? At least I can be in a good mood about it. So imagine that. Imagine knowing that perhaps it's approaching, or you're in the situation where you're having an unpleasant experience, and you make a decision like, you know what? I'm going to enjoy this. I'm going to have fun doing it. And that was that same energy that I took when I also did an ice plunge at Camp 2, where I was like dreading, like the similar stuff that was happening from camp that was kind of playing out, when we had our little get together and service day, the dread, and then leading up to it. But the common ingredient was like I made a decision to say I'm gonna enjoy this. On the surface, it seems unpleasant as hell, and even scary at times. But to just even cut through that and say, but I'm still gonna have a good time. It's not gonna take away from being present. It's not gonna take away from enjoying the company of my colleagues and other, just being there, living. And so that's really something that a big thing that I really want to impart is that if you can have that energy, and all it takes is a decision. Like, I'm going to enjoy this. I'm gonna learn from it. I'm gonna gain something from it, and I'm gonna move forward higher. That to me is so much power, because that means no matter what happens in life, no matter who comes in, doesn't matter what they or the situation is. Making a decision makes you the alchemist. You'll transmute all the unpleasant things, the experiences, into something that builds you, that builds on your inner security, that makes you a better person that you were yesterday. I hope you can understand that's a lot of power here. So that's why for me, it was a significant thing to be in a good mood, to decide, hey, we're going to have a good time here. In light of being in those worries, the concerns, like the butterflies in the stomach type of thing, and still say, I'm going to have a good time. That to me is being a leader of myself. And we all need to be leaders for ourselves. If not, we are at the mercy of the strongest current in the environment, the energy in the environment, and it can be very nasty. But I'm not saying that to try to scare, but to point to just the magnitude, the gravity of the situation, and because of the gravity of the situation, to keep it light. And so we ended up, so my manager and I, we ended up going, and we went on the tandem. We were the last people to get on the river, and then we all started paddling, and then we started to get the feel for, just getting the lay of the lands, and like kind of refreshing myself, like reminding myself for my experiences with paddling on the canoe, although on the tandem kayak is slightly different, but more or less it's the similarities there as far as technique and whatnot. But anyway, not to give you the gory details of the rest of the day, but it was ended up being an awesome day. We ended up just like, although I would say a highlight was like we were all initially at the start paddling downstream, and then we went to a little spot here by a marsh area where they have like the aquatic gardens in DC. Is very beautiful, and we were off to the side. We saw some rangers, NPS rangers, and then we ended up like chatting for a bit, took some pictures, and then we ended up starting to make our way back upstream to the spot. And the current wasn't too strong, but it is, we were paddling against the current. And one of the beautiful things I want to highlight is that me and my coworker, we were just because we got a little bit better with paddling, and then also he had his paddle swapped with somebody else, because his was like, it was actually much a little longer, and the pads were actually much more wider and longer. So it was difficult for him to be able to exert energy like that repetitively. So it was a mixture of that, and we decided to just let's make our way back, and let's just go ahead. And so we ended up paddling fast, and we ended up creating a gap between ourselves and our other colleagues. It was like 3 other pairs, but we were just going. But we weren't like busting our asses going. We were just efficient and just working in unison together. And that kind of synergy, when there's that congruence, there's that harmony. It's like, and I look at that when there's harmony between my intellectual and my feeling nature. That's when I see myself gliding forward, where I'm like really accelerating, and like when things are smooth, things can go fast. Not rushed, but fast. It's like what something that I've taken with me is like, slow is smooth, smooth is fast. And so that was a cool experience where we were just like paddling up ahead, and one of one of our colleagues was like, the crew there, one of our two of our colleagues were like trying to catch up to us, and they were trying really hard, but they couldn't catch up to us, and so we were just like, and we took breaks along the way going upstream, but we try to make sure that we weren't being so taking too much of a break where the river would take us back down. But it was an interesting thing of the power of being able to work together. In this case, with my colleague, we were able to, my manager, we were able to just go up and create that distance, and we wanted to get back. It was just pushing ourselves because we wanted to see, okay, how fast can we go? Let's do this. So it was a bit of a challenge we had going on between us, between us trail rangers. So that was a cool experience. That was pretty fun. And so when we got off of it, we were the first ones there, and nobody was there to assist us. But we kind of figured out the little platform, the dock area where we mounted our kayaks and got out, and then we were able to get onto the water. And we used that same little platform area to get back onto land and bring our stuff, our equipment inside the dock area, the pier, so that way other people can come in, give them space. And it was awesome. And so, like, at the end of it, like, looking back, it's like, wow, I had an awesome experience. And like I said, there was the worries and stuff that comes up that the projections, but making that decision to say, hey, no, I'm still gonna have a good time. This isn't gonna change anything. I'm gonna have a good time. So there's that. Everybody has a choice, and that's a very important thing. Like, just to give you perspective, free will is a universal law. Free will is a universal law. And for that very reason, that's why life can feel so chaotic, because you have billions of people, or even just within our own country, speaking in the United States, even here, there's so much going on because it's the collective free will of so many people, or there's interactions of people's free will that can have a ripple effect. It's like so much that goes on. But nevertheless, that isn't to say like, oh, I'm not trying to instill fear or nothing. If anything, the fact that it's a universal law means the power is, and will always be in your hands, as long as you decide for yourself. That's why just the act of deciding is such a spiritual thing. It's an important quality, because we all have to be leaders of our own selves. This is energy mastery 101. Because like I said, if I don't use my energy, someone else in the environment, it will take me. It will drive me rather than me driving myself. And that's something that we're all working towards, and why that's part of one of the commonalities of why we're here in this school, to and navigating, and what it takes to navigate successfully is to be a leader of ourselves. That inner leadership. And yes, that can also translate to being a leader for others, to show the way, to be an example. But this is why I believe that everybody is a leader by some capacity, but to the extent that they need it for themselves, at least. And I don't know about you, I'm not here to be catered to or like have people do things for me, when I know it's my responsibility for my purpose in my life. That's for me to live and to lead. And if you're listening to this, you're someone that has some concern about that as well too. And so that was a cool experience that I ended there, that I really enjoyed. But I think there's so much power in that, when you can make a decision, and that right there has helped me in other areas of my life where if I hadn't decided, I would have gone down to I would have spiraled into depression, into a really dark place. And that's the grim reality of like what affects people. But like, it really boils down, it really falls upon the individual. But it's amazing that we have other people in our lives. There's the shared journey, so we can look for this assistance. We can tap only if we're open to it. If I'm open to it, I will receive the assistance. If I'm not, because I'm occupied with something else, I just narrow tunnel vision or something, then it may not move in. But the support is always there. It's everywhere. There's an abundance of support that's right there for you, next to you, inside of you, in the universe. Do you believe that? Do you feel that? Do you know? Do you see it? Do you understand it? When you're more tuned in and tapped into that, that's when for me, this is why I'm telling you, because I've experienced that support on a day-to-day basis. From the smallest to the biggest things that's happened in my life. It's there through and through. So, this has been another episode of the Spiritual Engineer Podcast. I'm your host, Alvin Cepeda, signing out. And as always, take care, my dear friend.